Welcome to TradeTheNBI.com. This is John. This report is for September the 1st. And as we get close to, the holiday, we're expecting that post-holiday we'll have most everyone back from their vacations and real market activity. So we'll be able to see whether this is going to be a survivable move, which, given the readings, it looks like it most certainly is. I mean, NBI reading here with the white all the way down below the 10 level. Magenta still riding over yellow. Histogram continuing to rise now over 10. That's close to eclipsing this previous peak, which was at 12. So that's the marker that we kind of look at, because if it does that, then you know that you're within a congruent run that's not subject to major drawdown. From an NQ standpoint, very similar. Everything's pretty much the same here. The only difference, you get the DOC really close to inflection point. If we get a pivot back up of green, then we're going to look for breakouts significantly higher. Of course, it'll be interesting. We're going to have new fund money coming in another couple of days. Where that wants to play will be interesting if it's going to move more towards bonds or alternative investments compared to the market. Otherwise, the market should continue to rise simply for that inflationary devaluing. It's got to rise to meet the devaluation of the dollar from a gold standpoint, and of course that's going to continue to do it. It still looks very similar to what the general market is, so pretty strong from that standpoint. The euro gaining some momentum. I think they just announced additional green pass restrictions in that, but again, it's going to come across the same stumbling block. The U.S. wants to pump that euro as much as it possibly can to benefit U.S. companies. Here, moved the Bitcoin chart into a 30-minute and ran the adjusted Opus 2 on there. Let me go ahead and strategy report just for the fun of it. I will reduce that down so it's visible. And I wouldn't even call this very effective. 1.77 profit factor on it. But look at that win rate down at 33. What happens in time charts versus tick charts? You get a lot of bars that really have insignificance to them. Whereas when our tick charts, when we do them, they certainly are built on specific data inputs, and so makes it a lot more relevant, which is, but I'll make an adjustment for time charts on the Opus 2, and so that, like the ones that we have for the NBI Power Mode 2 Opus or stocks, it's slightly different because it makes an adjustment for that fact that you could have X number of bars and things that really mean absolutely nothing. Intraday was pretty nice. We had the positive extremes that took place. Filled them all back, made a new low, fought its way back. Slightly lower one, just getting, and again, this took place all exactly where we were expecting, right around that 45.21 to 23 range is where these usually, when you get a breakout past the century mark, you get a push that goes slightly back above it to the 30s, and then it comes right back into that 23 range, and it's whether they can hold it on from there and keep it from dipping back to that even number, in this case, the 4,500. Right now we're looking at a little bit of softness from also a series of positive extremes starting right here in post-market. So right now we just filled it, actually, as we're speaking, which is exciting. Might as well throw up a 50K while we're here. So this is the adjustment on the Opus 2 T program that you all have now. And I made a slightly different version you have. Had about a 3.5 profit factor, 58% win rate, but it was around 588 in net profit. This one adds in the NBI. So you see right here, NBI Plus. So it's capturing those, as well as the orange readings, and so you're matching the pink bar. Orange candle closes, and it buys that open right after it. Very effective from that standpoint. Next setup is some of the stops on it aren't as effective because I wanted to maintain when we have green trend to stick with that. So the next setup will be adjusting the stops to go with red candle changes. Working on that one as well, and it just tightens it up and makes it look super good, but fantastic. from that standpoint, doing, I mean, this is exactly what I would expect it to do. You might wonder, we see a little bit of red there, not selling out at that like the old Opus would do. And that's simply because self setup isn't activated until there's a dip below the 76% Morganacci line, which we find pretty effective overall when maintaining runs, because in the small moves lower, yes, you'll have definite sell configuration, but price usually holds on right around there. And so if the sell signal is still not active below a 76% range, then in this case, it just ignores it and allows the trend to be followed. And that's really where it is. When we look at the details, if you do performance reports, you can check the analysis tabs. In fact, I'll show you what I'm talking about, because they're relevant. Let me shrink this one down quite a bit. You can see the tabs at the bottom. So you get trade analysis. And these are good because it gives you a clear idea of what's happening in drawdowns. And in this case, very nice. The other one I like to look at is also consecutive winners and losers, what happens in those runs, how long they are, and what happens in your next trade and their average loss versus the gains that you get on them. And that gives you an idea of the drawdowns from a performance graph situation. This one, I think the current one, you have slightly under 100 trades. This moves it up over the 120. So it's just about keeping a balance between being active in the market, still maintaining a pretty good profit factor. Anytime you're in the threes, that's phenomenal. And also the first time the Opus programs are over 50% win rate, and in this case 55, which is excellent. I think anywhere in the 57% range and above is just unexpected, because that's just really identifying clearly what the market is doing, and there's just no way to really stop that from producing significant gains if you're looking at proper stops and stuff. So that's very exciting from that standpoint, and highly effective. Now the next element will be adding in the short portion, have that language worked on as well, and that will give us the second half of the equation, where we have either these violet or magenta and trade until they get the new buy configuration. So you can look for that the next couple of days, and I'll certainly be sending out this update as soon as I finalized it with a little bit more detail. And I may even give it an alternative. That way you can pick and choose between, I may not even have to do that. I may just allow you to turn off each of the different configurations. That way you get an idea individually what each of the buy signals does, whether it's the yellow, which is now called the GAM, which was always the yellow candle, and the NDI was always the white candle, and orange obviously is just that orange. As always, very exciting stuff. I will continue to put up charts and details and performance reports on Skype chat. Trade well. We'll talk to you later.